Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Morgan here at The Life of Tillmans, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some things that I have learned over the years as a first generation homeschooler. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. I am so glad that you are here. Let's start with number one. The first thing is desire. Over the years, I have realized that there are times when I don't desire to homeschool. It doesn't mean that I want to do something else. I just don't want to homeschool. I had to remove the guilt of that feeling because I almost felt as if me not wanting to homeschool in that moment was me rejecting my children or not being truly 100% invested in their education and their future. And I really had to let go of that. I think at any given time, anything that we love, we are going to get tired. We're going to be tired for various reasons. Maybe we're just going through a really hard patch. Maybe our mind is focused on personal things that have nothing to do with our homeschool environment. Maybe we are just physically exhausted, mentally and physically for that matter. And so that desire to focus on that specific area and do that thing, which that thing was homeschool, is just not there. And I think we have to give ourselves the opportunity to feel those feelings, assess why we feel that way, and work through it in a positive way. So throwing your hands up in the air and saying, I'm done with this, that's not the best way to do it for me. For me, it was really sitting down saying, okay, why do you feel this way? What do you need to change? Do you need a change of environment? All the things that I go through with my daughters when they are feeling kind of like icky about what it is that we're doing or just not feeling like doing it. And so over the years, I had to learn to give myself a pass and the opportunity to really dig deep into how I was feeling and not feel guilty for having a decreased desire to homeschool. Another thing that I've learned over time is that I need to stick with a sleep pattern, a routine. I tried for a couple of years to just allow my girls to rise whenever they wanted to. And while I do think that there are benefits to that, I have always been a stickler for my girls getting sleep. From my firstborn all the way up to my baby now. It is essential. It's essential for all of us, myself included, for the function of our brains, for our moods, for our physical well-being. And I tried to just relax with that and say, okay, you can get up whenever you want. You know, we can be a little bit more flexible on your bedtime. But I felt like that had us doing this all the time. And I found myself going to bed later, waking up earlier. So I'm getting less sleep. And I was miserable. This mama was tired and falling asleep by 10 o'clock in the morning. And so as much as people say, don't wake your children up, let them sleep, it's homeschooling, you can do whatever you want. That is true, but we also have other obligations and things that we've committed to outside of homeschooling. And for example, my daughters have volleyball practice at 1 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays. If I let them sleep for as long as they wanted to, I have a child who wouldn't wake up until 10:30 or 11 o'clock. When is the school time happening? That was something I really had to think about. If she doesn't wake up until 10:30, the next thing we're doing is getting ready to leave out of the door, having lunch, and leaving for volleyball. Volleyball's 2 hours. Then we have to get back home. She's tired again because she worked out really hard at volleyball. And then we have the evening to do school. And that doesn't work for me personally. I am not an evening learner unless it's something, very light, like a science experiment or something like that. But outside of that, I have a focused window for learning, and so do my girls. And so they have a bedtime. And we really stick close to that bedtime even on the weekends. They have all the time during the day on the weekends to do the things that they want to do. There's no need for them to stay up until midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, when we have to get right back on to our regular schedule because we have other obligations outside of homeschooling that we have committed to. And so I really had to dig in to say, this is something that's needed for our home. The freely waking and sleeping doesn't work. Now, I don't wake my girls up early, but they do get up at a specific time so that we can get our day going because we have other things that we have to do outside of homeschooling. And so that was something that I had to rest with and say, Other people may not do it and they may disagree with how I do it, but that's okay because it's my homeschool and not theirs. So while I'm here, tell me something that you have learned as a homeschool parent, whether you're first generation, second, third, whatever it is, something that you have learned and held on to over the years that you see true value in. The next thing is just the clinginess. I'm going to use that word. I don't really like it, but my girls, they don't want to be separated from me. There are times where they really do want to go off and do their own thing, but we're together so much. It's just natural for them to come to me and find me. I also look for them throughout our day. And it's kind of this, sometimes it can be a little strange where it's like, okay, what do you need? And they're like, nothing, I just want to be next to you, which is so sweet. I do majority of the time love that, but I want to go to the bathroom by myself. I want to be able to sit down and read a book. If I'm in the office working or doing something, they just naturally gravitate to me because we're together a lot. And over the years, I have learned to both appreciate those moments, but also set boundaries as well, because that's necessary. Our children are going to encounter people in life, and they're going to have boundaries, and they have to know when someone has set a boundary and to respect that boundary. That's something that I had to work through because I felt like as their mom and their teacher that I was supposed to be available to them all the time. And I want to be by myself, and I would feel guilty for saying, I just need 10 minutes, and that's not a lot of time, but I need some time. And I felt guilty about that. And over the years, I've grown out of it. And I'll tell my girls, hey, I'm going to go to my room for a few minutes. I'll be back in a little while. And they're like, okay. So it just took some time, but that's something that I really didn't think about. And it never crossed my mind before we began this homeschooling journey. I knew I would be spending time with them, but I didn't know the effects that it would have, I guess, on our lives every single day. And it's mostly positive, but as I said, there are just times where I just want to be by myself. Another thing that I learned as a first generation homeschooler is that I do have to shift me. I have to go from mom to teacher, and I have to do that several times throughout the day. So before anyone chimes in, take a listen. I am here for the primary reason of connecting with my girls. I place the connection over anything that we are learning. I don't always want to be a teacher. So I don't want everything that we do every day to turn into an educational moment. Sometimes our children just need to be children, and I don't want to teach them a lesson every time. And I'm sure they don't want that either. Sometimes they just want their mom. And it's almost like having your parent as your coach for sports, whatever it is that you're playing. In those moments, your child has to know that in that moment, you're coach and not their mom or their dad. And that's very challenging. While I know we are always educating our children, so to say that I'm their teacher is kind of like separating, but I need that separation, and so did my girls. We needed that. They needed to know that this is my working time to be your teacher, and my mom heart sometimes has to be a little bit harder in order for us to get through the subject. And when I say hard, I don't mean rude, mean, anything like that. But if I give you an assignment and you're supposed to do it and you come back and you haven't done it, do I just say okay every single time? No, because that's not the real world. If my children plan to go to college, they won't get that grace. There's a due date for this assignment and you have to turn it in. And if you don't, then you're going to lose points on your grade. Those types of things, and being able to separate that and set those boundaries. And it's hard for all of us. It's hard, especially for my youngest, which I do a lot more of, like, I'm just your parent, we're playing type of things with her because she's really young. But my older girls, we've gotten to that point to where we have to establish what is happening in that moment. And that when I sit down at the dinner table, I'm just your mom. I'm your mom. And I say just, but I'm your mom. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm not going to teach you every single moment of the day. Sometimes they just want their mom, and sometimes that's all I want to be. I don't want to be teacher. I don't want to be, this is a moment for education. Let's learn something. I don't want to be like that all the time. I had to learn that, and I had to be okay with that as well. All of these things, I've had to just be okay with them and say, this is okay for us to run our home in this manner, and for me not to always be on in the education realm 24/7, because that's not all that our children need. They need us to nurture them, and sometimes nurturing them has nothing to do with their education. Sometimes teachers in like school environment when they're teaching children, they're so focused on being the teacher, right? Because that's their job. They're getting paid to teach children. However, we can't ignore the fact that maybe this child over here didn't get breakfast this morning. Or maybe they've been up since 4 o'clock because they had to help get all their siblings ready for school. And so if we separate that and say, I'm just here to teach you, we're missing an opportunity to connect, because that is what they need. Hierarchy of needs is going to say, I'm starving, I need food, or I'm sleepy because I've been up so early and I had to help my siblings get ready. There's just so many factors. And so I want to be in tune with that with my girls, because not everything is about getting them the education. We are more than just a homeschool family. We are a family, a loving and caring family. And I want to show that to my girls, whether I'm teaching them or not. But they need me to be their mom as well. And so flipping back and forth was a challenge, but I'm getting in a good rhythm and our relationship is growing every day. All right. And as a first generation homeschooler, I discovered that I am an extroverted introvert. Y'all, I can only handle so much of crowds and people and places and things and visiting and chatting. And I can only handle so much. And it's very surprising to people, but it's just not something that I want to do all the time. Like, I can do it in spurts and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I've had my couple of hours of talking and socializing, and now I need to go and take a nap because that really wore me out. And that is me. But it's very challenging to be that way when you have 3 children who want to go and do, and you take them to go and do. I find myself sitting over in the corner. I'll go through and I'll say hi to everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to go sit over here. People have grown to know me that way, and they understand that I can only take so much. And I know that some people encounter people like that and they think, oh, they're very like rude and, it's kind of off-putting, but I just need some time. We went to volleyball nationals last year and we're in the gym 3 days. Every day I was just drained. The noise, the conversation, everything that was going on. I needed a break. It was a lot more socializing for me as the parent that I am just not accustomed to. And homeschooling, to me, when you put your children in all of these different activities, you have to be social. You just have to. And it's hard. So I have to do it on my terms. So in all of these years, one thing that I figured out is I'll never have it all figured out. That's just a part of it. You never have it all figured out. There's always something that's going to be changing. And my prayer is that I am who I need to be according to God's will, to be able to look at that situation with clear eyes and get over that hump. And so we've never have it all figured out, and that's okay too. We do our very, very best, but nobody's perfect.